Hello, Year 11. Hope you had a lovely half term. Very sorry I'm not in your lesson today. But I wanted to record this video because we are going to be doing a 20-mark question today, and I know 20-mark questions are probably the ones we'll find the hardest because they're the ones that are worth the most marks. So this is your title for today. We're focusing on Mrs. Lyons in Act 1, and this is the question that you are going to be answering. 1 second. So you're going to be answering, you are performing the role of Mrs. Lyons, therefore we know that's the character we're going to write the bulk of the answer about. Describe how you would use your acting skills to interpret Mrs. Lyons' character in this extract, so we're going to discuss this extract first, and explain why your ideas are appropriate, both for this extract and the play as a whole. So we know we're going to have to talk about a couple of other moments in the play, some contrasting moments, also moments where we see this character's personality. It's a 20 marker, so we know there's going to be our context paragraph and then 4 other main paragraphs. So let's make a start. This is the extract that you are going to be using today. So what I would advise is right now, I am going to put this link in the description on the assignments tab as well. And I'm also going to pop this in as a PDF just so you've got this to refer back to. But I would pause this now and watch that scene. It's from about 9:03 to 12:22 if you follow this link. So pause this video now. The video does go slightly further back. We see Mickey entering the house. So pause this now, watch that video, and have a quick read through of this extract on here. But this is the scene where Mrs. Lyons ends up hitting Edward because he reacts in a way that makes him seem as though he is more of a Johnston than a Lyons. So pause this video now, go watch that, have a little read through the extract. Right guys, moving on. So your structure for your 20 marker. We always start with our context paragraph, and in the 20 marker it's useful to give a little bit of character background. Then in our new structure, because remember we are starting with a new structure, we are going to do 2 paragraphs on how you perform this extract and 2 paragraphs on how you perform the same character in different parts of the play, because the structure that we were using previously where we were doing this extract, different extract, wasn't quite working. It didn't really help us get as much detail in as we could. So let's start with your context paragraph. So what do you know about this character? What do we see about them in this extract? So throughout the play, Mrs. Lyons is seen as, so talk about in the wider context of the play, how do we see Mrs. Lyons? What do we know about her? What is factual information that we can get down about her? Then how do we see her in this extract? So what is happening in this scene at this moment in the play? So pause me now, take about 2-3 minutes to write yourself a couple of sentences for your context. So pause this video, write those 2 sentences. Right guys, moving on, paragraph 1. Now, you'll notice on all of these slides, I'll just move myself along, I've put McGeever in the top corner, and there's a reason for that, and I'm going to explain it. But paragraph 1, you're focusing on this extract. Now, the way I would advise that you do it is you take 1 quote from the beginning of the extract or the middle of the extract and 1 from the end. I think that works best because then you're showing a wide variety of what is going on in this extract. Now, the reason I've put McGeever down the side here is because over the course of paragraph 1, where you're talking about the beginning of the extract, and paragraph 2, where you talk about the end of the extract, you're going to want to make sure you've included all of those elements of McGeever at least once. Okay? Now, this is because the mark scheme does say that you need to be able to talk about a wide range of skills to be able to access top marks. So if you talk about voice beautifully over 4 paragraphs, that isn't going to get you the top marks because you haven't talked about a wide range of skills. You've just talked about the same skill over and over. So this is why I've put this on. And what I want you to do as you're going through this is just pop a little cross in the box or in your head, just make sure you've ticked that off so that you know that you have talked about movement, gesture, and voice, say, in this one. So you know that you're going to talk about expression, interaction. Maybe you would talk about movement again. Maybe you talk about voice again. It doesn't matter if you double up, but you need to talk about all of them at least once over the course of the 2 paragraphs. So, paragraph 1. In this extract, I would aim to show. So what do you aim to show about Mrs. Lyons in this extract? How is she feeling? How is her mental state? I would say at this point, she's probably panicked by the presence of Mickey in the house. You might want to talk a little bit about why she might be panicked about the presence of Mickey, or maybe you might want to save that for your why your skills are effective. And you're going to pick out a line. So as Mrs. Lyons, I say the line. So the line that I'm going to advise, I'm going to talk you through paragraph 1 and give you some ideas. Of course, as always, you don't have to go with my ideas. You can go with your own. But I'm going to go with the line. I'm going to go with Edward, Edward, where did you meet that boy? So that's the line I've decided I'm using for paragraph 1. So as I say this, I would. Now, this is where we're going to use our McGeever skills. So I might say that I'm going to say the entire line very quickly at a really fast pace. And the only time I pause for a breath is after, say, the second time I say Edward, when I start to stammer because I'm getting flustered. Okay, there we go. I've talked about voice. We can tick that one off. I might say that I'm going to pace very quickly backwards and forwards across the length of my living room while avoiding eye contact with the actor playing Edward. There we go. We've talked about movement. We've talked about interaction as well, because we talked about eye contact. Now we need to say why we have done those skills. Why have I chosen those skills? Why are they effective? And this is the most important point. It's not enough just to say, I would do this. You need to explain why it's effective. So this would be effective for the audience as it would show. So have a think about what it shows about Mrs. Lyons. She's starting to become paranoid. She thinks that she might lose Edward to the Johnstons. She's starting to believe in the superstition that she actually made up, saying that if the boys meet, they're going to die. And because I've explained that why, I can also tick off audience. So pause me now. I want you to do your paragraph 1. So choose a line from the beginning of the extract. You might want to use the same one I've used. Edward, Edward, where did you meet that boy? You might want to break that down further than I did, which I would advise. But pause this video now and write up your paragraph 1. It should take you about 4 minutes, okay? It shouldn't take you any longer than 4 minutes. So pause me now, write up paragraph 1, tick off the elements of McGeever as you go. Right, guys, moving on to paragraph 2. So you're doing the same thing again, but this time you're going to choose a line towards the end of the extract. So if I'm looking at the end of the extract, I would probably advise you do one like, you are my son, mine, and you won't ever, where she's getting really angry after she's hit him. You might want to do, oh my son, my beautiful, beautiful son, when she's trying to cradle him after she's realised what she's done. But try and choose one from the end of the extract, because we're going to be able to show something different. At this point in the extract, she's not showing necessarily a paranoia and getting flustered anymore. She's like full-blown mad woman, okay? So are we going with her at the height of that paranoia and her hitting Edward and going on a rant? And then we're thinking about the nature versus nurture debate of is a child formed from the way he's brought up, or is a child formed from the nature within him? So is he going to act more like a Johnston because he is a Johnston technically, or is he going to act like a Lyons because that's the way that he's been brought up? So we can go down that route, or if you go for my son, my beautiful, beautiful son, then you can talk about how she's realised what she's done was wrong, and she realises and she's feeling quite guilty, and that might be quite a nice path to go down. So again, you're saying what you want to show. So towards the end of the extract, Mrs. Lyons, I want to show that she is whatever. As Mrs. Lyons, I say the line, include which line you're going to add. As I say this, I would. Now, because we've already talked about, well, I talked about movement, interaction, voice, audience in the last one. I know that I'm going to have to talk about expression and gesture, and maybe I'll talk about voice again. Yeah, maybe I'll talk about interaction again. Maybe I'll talk about all of them. That's fine. But I know I need to talk about my facial expression and my gesture because I didn't talk about those two in the last paragraph. So I know I need to talk about them. And then talk about why it's effective for the audience again. So choose your line for paragraph 2 from the extract that's on that slide. Pause me now, write up your paragraph 2. Again, it should take about 4 minutes. Right, guys, off you go. Right, guys, moving on to paragraph 3. Now, this is the part where it changes because we have been talking about the extract that we've already looked at. Now we're going to be moving on to talking about different scenes within the play. Now, I think what's quite nice, because the extract we're talking about is from the beginning of the play, it's quite nice to show an overarching journey for the character at this point. So we know that she is starting to get paranoid at this point. It might be quite nice to show a journey of the character and show where she goes throughout the play, because this is at the beginning of the extract. So I'm going to talk you through how I would write paragraph 3. So same thing, I'll talk you through how I'd write paragraph 3, and then you're going to have a go at writing paragraph 3, and then you're going to be a little more on your own for paragraph 4. So if I was going to do this, the 2 other moments I would talk about, if I had to choose 2, I would choose when she moves to the countryside and she starts to lose that paranoia. She starts to believe that, you know, she's safe. She relaxes off a little, and then I would talk about the height of her paranoia. And we know the height of her paranoia is really when she attacks Mrs. Johnston in the kitchen, tries to stab her with a knife. Very dramatic. Everyone's favourite moment in the play because why not? She's a mad woman. So paragraph 3, I've decided I'm going to talk about when she moves away to the countryside, because I think that is where she eases off. We see her paranoia starting to release. This is going to show the example that you have knowledge of the play as a whole if you can track how she is feeling throughout the play as a whole. So I might say during the scene where the Lyons family move to the countryside at the end of Act 1, we see Mrs. Lyons is starting to relax. Our paranoia is starting to ease away. Then I would talk about how I would act that out. Now, you don't need a quote if you're talking about the other moments, as long as you describe them in detail. So I didn't just say during the scene where the Lyons moved to the countryside, I've given more detail. I've said the family moved to the countryside. It's at the end of Act 1. We can see this about her in this scene. So you can't just say during the scene at the countryside, Mrs. Lyons starts to relax. So make sure you talk about it in detail, and then you won't need a quote. So in this scene, I might take a deep breath, sigh it all out. I might speak with a much gentler tone. I might speak much slower than before because I've had the chance to relax. Maybe I would smile widely with big wide eyes to take in everything around me. I might put a hand on the shoulder of Edward to show that I'm giving him some affection and I feel safe in the countryside with him. And then you're going to talk about why all of that is effective for the audience. So how does that show that her paranoia is easing away? How does it show that she feels safe in the countryside? How does it show that she's more relaxed? Okay, so maybe it shows she feels comfortable. Maybe it shows that she feels that Edward is going to be safe. Talk about how it shows that. Okay, and again, you're ticking off your elements of MacGyver, because over paragraph 3 and 4, you are going to have to talk about all of those elements again, okay? So pause me now, write up your paragraph 3. So you might choose to do where the Lyons family move out to the countryside. You might choose a different moment. It's totally up to you. But write up that paragraph about how you would perform Mrs. Lyons in that scene and why. Right, guys, final stretch, paragraph 4, we're nearly there. So again, you're going to talk about a different part. So if we've already talked about, say, end of Act 1, they move out to the countryside. I think that it's best to show the height of her paranoia, and you could either do where she attempts to stab Mrs. Johnston, which is everyone's favourite scene, of course, or you could talk about the very end of the play where she tells Mickey that Edward and Linda are having some kind of an affair. I think that I would probably go for the one where she attacks Mrs. Johnston, because it's a longer scene. There's a lot more you can say about it. Whereas at the end of the play where she does tell Mickey, it's only in stage directions. There's no like line for her to say. There's nothing, it's not a full scene. It's like a passing moment. So make sure that whatever you are going to say is quite substantial so that you've got a lot to talk about. So I might say during the scene where Mrs. Lyons attempts to attack Mrs. Johnston in the countryside in Act 2, we see that Mrs. Lyons is reaching the height of her paranoia. Then again, you're going to use the elements of MacGyver that you didn't use before, and you might use some again, to show, to talk about, what you want to show about the character, okay? Then talk about why it is effective. And again, you're spending about 4 or 5 minutes on each paragraph, because it's about a mark a minute, okay? So paragraph 4, what do you want to show about Mrs. Lyons if she is reaching the height of her paranoia? We know that she's, gone full-blown crazy woman by that scene where she attempts to attack Mrs. Johnston. So think about how you are going to show that, okay? So again, pause me. You've got about 4 or 5 minutes to do that. Right, guys, awesome job. Hopefully that was easy. Well, if not easy, hopefully it was manageable. Upload your work to Teams. If you are struggling to upload it to the Teams assignment, I know a couple of you said that there were a couple of problems uploading it to Teams. So if you do have any problems, just email it to me, just so I've got it. I can pop it in your evidence folder. It makes my life so much easier. Please don't just avoid doing this assignment because I'm not physically there to make you, because I can see whether you've looked at the lesson or not. Which I suppose I'm preaching to the choir right now, because if people aren't going to look at the lesson, they won't actually see this since it's at the end of the video, but there we go. So upload your work to the Teams assignment and I will see you on Wednesday. Okay guys, see you soon. Bye.